friends! Thank you so much for stopping by, and if you're new here, I'm Laurie. I was going through my fall decor pieces and I came upon this old scarecrow that I made, oh my gosh, probably 30 years ago. And he just needs some updating and a little help, but when I found him, he actually inspired me to make my new craft. I used some raffia from Michael's, I used some things that I already had on hand, and then I used some supplies from the Dollar Tree. This is what I came up with. She's a little more modernly made, and she's going to be sitting and greeting all my guests on my front porch. If you like this scarecrow and hey, you think you'd like to make one, come on, let's go get busy. I'm starting with a Dollar Tree rubber ball. It measures about 6 inches wide. And all I'm doing is placing it into a paper bag. I've actually tried to paint these balls in the past, but for some reason the acrylic paint or the spray paint just will never dry. When you're done, leave about 4 or 5 inches, cut off the existing paper bag, and secure it together with a rubber band. Once I was done, I used my glue gun to attach the bag folds together. I'm using some strands of the raffia and I'm hot gluing them onto the paper bag. You don't have to be super fussy. This is basically your base for when you're adding on your larger strands of raffia. Once I glued the front and the sides, and you can see it's not perfect, I then glued the strands onto the back. Depending on the size of your scarecrow will depend on how much raffia you use. I'm taking a large handful and my raffia measures about 55 inches in length. Keep a piece of floral wire handy because you're going to use this to secure it into place. My 55 inches of raffia is folded in half, and now all I'm doing is placing it over the head and dispersing it evenly. Once you have it as full as you like it, and don't worry if it's not perfect because it's a scarecrow, use your floral wire and wrap it around and then secure it into place. There were a few areas here and there, so all I did was take my glue gun and just kind of glue the raffia in place. Once you're done, take a few strands of raffia, tie it around, and cover the floral wire. When that's complete, you're going to use 2 bundles of raffia, each about 20 inches in length. And all you're going to do in the center is take your floral wire and tie it off. To add the arms, you're just going to pull up some of the existing raffia and slide them right inside. To help keep the arms in place, bundle it together underneath the center part of the arms and then use another piece of floral wire and secure it together. With the leg bundle, do the exact same thing. Separate the rest of the hanging raffia. Then attach your legs to the center of the body and secure it in place with a piece of floral wire. To help define the legs, I'm using a couple of strands of raffia and I'm attaching the existing raffia and the raffia I just added as the legs together. Once I had finished my legs, I then did the same thing to the arms. Now that the body's complete, it's time to add her dress. I'm using a piece of fabric that I already had on hand, and it's measuring 20 inches in width and 33 inches in length. I folded it in half, so now it is 16 inches in length, and I'm lying it on the scarecrow with the folded end on the top. To make my neck opening, I cut a tiny slice in the center. Once that was done, I folded my fabric in half and I found my center slice. Using that as my guide, I then cut a small half circle to accommodate her neck. I have the neck now centered on my scarecrow, and using my scissors, I'm cutting up the center of only one piece of the fabric. With that complete, I'm dressing my scarecrow and I'm leaving the opening in the back. Normally, I would sew one of these dresses, and let me tell you, my 8th grade home ec teacher will not be happy, but I'm actually going to make this completely with a glue gun. To make a finish to edge, I'm using my hot glue gun, and I'm tacking the two ends and the middle of the fabric on both sides. Once that's complete, I'm then hot gluing the two finished seams together. To attach both sides, I left a 6-inch opening for each arm. I then followed the same instructions of tacking each side of the fabric and then hot gluing them together. With her dress complete, I'm now going to add on some accents. I'm using a piece of burlap from the Dollar Tree. I'm wrapping it around her waist and then tying a bow. I'm using buffalo check fabric from the Dollar Tree for her waist accent and her dress hem. On the wrong side of the fabric, I hot glued the edges together to make a waistband. Then starting on the back just before the bow, I hot glued it to the burlap. I then turned her over and attached the rest of the waistband. When I was done, I used my scissors to remove the extra fabric. I found this cute buffalo check ribbon at the Dollar Tree, and I'm adding it around her waist as an accent. With everything complete, it's now time to add the hem. With my buffalo check, I'm adding an additional 4 inches to the hem. Once again, all I did was fold over the edge of the dress and hot glue it to the hem. This fabric is only 16 inches in length, and I needed double of that. So all I did was match up the pattern and hot glue 2 pieces together. I continued working my way around the dress until it was complete. I'm using some black ribbon that I had in my stash to give her 2 bow shoes. And to do this, all I did was make 2 bows on the bottom part of her legs. I'm giving my scarecrow some hair, and this is completely optional. I'm using some of the natural mesh tubing from the Dollar Tree. I bundled it together and then I secured it in the center with a piece of floral wire. Then using my glue gun, I attached it to her head so they would hang like 2 ponytails. I cut the loops open and then I added some matching Dollar Tree buffalo check ribbon as bows. And yes, that's my crafting buddy Emmeline in the corner, who came over to see if I needed any help. I'm using a hat from the Dollar Tree. I'm removing the tag and the accent. I'm adding my black and buffalo check ribbon to the hat. I cut my black ribbon at 56 inches so that it would have 2 long tails off the back. Don't worry about being super fussy when you're adding it, because we're going to be covering most of it with some raffia. I'm adding these 3 different colored sunflowers from the Dollar Tree. I simply used my glue gun and hot glued them into place. I'm adding a handful of raffia around the band. I gave it a little twist to kind of hold it into place. I then tucked it under the flowers and then tied off the ends with another piece of raffia. I don't have a crow, but I do have this cute little Dollar Tree bird, so I'm going to add that right onto the hat. I used a thin piece of leftover matching fabric and I made a bow. When I was finished, I then glued that next to the bird. Using the Dollar Tree pearls and a piece of floral wire, I made her a simple pearl necklace. I placed a dot of hot glue on the two end beads to hold the necklace together, and then I attached it to my scarecrow. I found this super cute little button in my stash, so I added it to the front of her waistband as an accent. And finally, the last step of this project is to hot glue the hat to her head. I love the way my scarecrow came out, and she's definitely the perfect addition to my fall decor. I hope you had fun making this scarecrow with me. You know I have a blast every time we're together, and if you're new and you haven't yet subscribed and you think, hey, I'd like to come back and hang out with her again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.